Hey everybody, welcome back to another JBoz gaming video. Today I'd like to talk about tank etiquette. And for new folks, this is kind of unwritten rules that the tanking community can generally follow or tries to generally follow in order to have a more positive experience playing together. There are, some things that you should and shouldn't do when you're playing World of Tanks console. And so, without further ado, let's dive in. This first is not to be it's not meant to be an extended list of things, as there may be other things that the community feels is an etiquette that I don't mention. And so as I determine and I guess feel the need to share, I will do so. But for now, this is off the top of my head about 8 things that a new tanker should know before just jumping in and playing a multiplayer match with other World of Tanks console players. So, number 1. No sitting on another tank's 6, meaning you should not position yourself directly behind an ally tank so that if they need to, they can back up and get out of the particular position that they're in. When a tank sits behind another tank, it prevents them from backing up, and that could result in the enemy team firing at the tank in front, which then in turn tries to back up, which will be blocked by you, and that means that more than likely they will be killed or destroyed. Not a pleasant experience, and probably will result in a Microsoft chat where someone tells you you are an idiot. Well, you may not be an idiot, but you certainly probably didn't understand that particular etiquette. So now you're aware. Hopefully you will avoid this. If you do want to sit behind someone, because sometimes it's appropriate, I would make sure that there's at least 2, maybe even 3 tank lengths where that person in front of you can at least back up away from the position that they're currently in. All right, enough said on sitting on one's 6th. Now, let's see. The next one that I would probably share with new players is the staggering of your fire, meaning that if you're sharing cover, be it a rock or a building or something, with an ally, you want to both be able to shoot at the enemy, and the way to accomplish this is one tank pulls forward and fires at the enemy and then pulls back behind the cover. The other tank then pulls forward and shoots at the enemy and pulls then back behind cover. So there's this staggering of fire, which allows you to both engage the enemy but still share a particular cover spot. The violation of the etiquette is when one doesn't acknowledge that this should happen and decides to just pull forward and sit there, not allowing the other ally to engage the enemy. So try to avoid that when at all possible, and politely share cover spots as appropriate when possible. The third tip or etiquette that I would share with you is don't take known spots of other tank types. What I mean by this is, if you're a light tank and you know a tank destroyer sits up on the ridge in a particular bush, as a light tank, you really shouldn't go up there and sit in that particular spot, because you're not the most effective gun to be positioned in that spot. Now, this will take a little bit of time. If you're a new tanker, you don't know necessarily what's better or not. And so if you get a message saying, hey, that spot's not for light tanks. It may not be that polite, but just acknowledge that you're learning, and that you'll try not to do that again, and just note in your head or somewhere that you shouldn't sit in that spot, that spot is really meant for other tanks. Now, if you question that, then by all means question it and have them give the reasons why they feel their tank or their tank type would be better positioned there than you. But in general, over time, you will become aware that there are positions on certain maps where certain categories of tanks will do better than other categories of tanks. And so learning this and kind of adhering to it can prevent future problems, which brings me to my next tip on etiquette, and that is you should not be bullying any of the other tanks with your tank by using your tank to dislocate or move them around the map. So if someone has set in a spot where maybe they're not the most advantageous tank in that spot, it is still not appropriate for someone to come and physically remove you with their tank from that spot. That is still not okay, and I consider that kind of bullying the other tank, because usually these tanks are heavier and are able to push others around. In general, you just should not use your tank to push your ally tanks around unless you may be helping a heavy or slower tank go as fast as possible to get to a position. But in general, dislocating them from a spot where they've set up is not good etiquette. All right. Moving on. The next tip that I would offer is don't knock down trees or destroy other objects where an ally has concealed himself or set up in a concealed way. An example of this is if you have a row of bushes and there's trees in that row of bushes, and one of your allies has positioned his tank in the bushes, and you pull up and knock down the tree, that could result in the enemy team seeing that tree fall, knowing that there's a opposing tank in that position, and they blind fire into the spot, either hitting you or that ally, and that is considered bad etiquette because you're literally drawing the fire of opposing tanks, especially maybe even opposing artillery tanks. So do not, if you can, knock down or destroy objects that other concealed tanks are near or by. Now, sometimes this is done on accident, and that is obviously something that we need to be aware of. And so if you did it inadvertently, after being engaged in either a positive or negative way, just respond in kind and let them know that it wasn't intentional. We all make mistakes, and we have to allow each other to make those mistakes. But doing this in an obvious way or on purpose is not good etiquette and does not make for a better gaming experience together. All right, moving on. The next, tip that I would offer folks is not to have an open mic, meaning leaving your mic unmuted through a multiplayer match is just not encouraged unless you're using your mic to communicate with the other players on your team. Obviously, not only is that something that we want to even encourage, but what we don't want is for you to leave that mic open the whole match. You say nothing productive towards the battle, yet we've listened to you heavily breathe and sigh and even curse under your breath about stuff that's going on, when in fact it was actually not even productive communication. This is distracting and annoying for other tankers, so please don't leave your mic open. However, if you are communicating and you are a heavy breather, or you have gas or belch or whatever, you can apologize. It happens, and we need to be able to forgive people for being people. But if they're trying to communicate, I would not discourage them by telling them to mute their mic when they happen to make a noise that maybe is offensive or annoying to you. But if they do it just to leave their mic on, I would certainly say something and encourage them to mute their mic. So, kind of along with this tip, that does mean, well, let me say this. I love all kinds of music. I truly have, it's hard for me to find a type of music that I don't like to listen to. But let me assure you, I do not like your type of music. So what I mean by that is it is not appropriate in any way for you to stream your music into a match in World of Tanks. That is not productive. That is not what the game is meant to do, or to the way to appropriately share music. It's bad quality. First of all, if you want them to appreciate your music, that's not the way to do it. So do not stream music into multiplayer matches. Really, people should be using that to communicate with one another. I wish that happened a lot more often than it does. Unfortunately, it doesn't. But that doesn't mean that it then becomes a radio station that you get to force people to listen to, to your type of music. Now, I get people like to listen to music when they play games, and I'm totally okay with that. But remember to mute your mic. Don't share that with others, and especially, it may not just be music, it may be background noise. So if you have a young family and the children seem to get rowdy or are a little noisy, remember, there are other people that may not appreciate that, and it becomes very distracting for them. So just keep your mic muted as much as possible if you do have a lot of background noise or other things going on in your home. All right, moving on. The last tip, and again, this is not an exhaustive list, so there may be others that I share in the future, but this one is do not destroy or purposely kill yourself in a battle. This is disrespectful to your team. It is also disrespectful to the opposing team. It's bad etiquette, and honestly, it just robs you of being a better player. Anytime that you have opportunity to increase the experience that you're getting in a battle, that reduces your grind to the next tank. It pushes you forward in any ops that require that. It also increases your stats if you're doing damage or spotting or killing other tanks. Even when the battle is lost and there's no more further attempt that you can make to win the game, you can still continue to play the game till the end, giving the best result you can for your team and yourself, and that is good etiquette. Bad etiquette is you just killing yourself because, you don't want to play the rest of the match. Well, there's some people that do this that feel like I might as well jump into the next match, so I'll just kill myself in this game. That is a very sad excuse, and it's quite frankly not even a real excuse. Yes, you might be able to get the next game started sooner, but you certainly aren't saving enough time to get even 1 or 2 extra matches in a night because you're doing this. So it's a sorry excuse for bad etiquette. Don't do it. Okay, well, as always, be careful out there, folks. Happy tanking, and we'll catch you in the next one. Take care.